Is everybody ready? Do we have a
Yes,
Everybody
yes, we
ready?
should give it to her. Yeah, give it to me now. It's a row.
I will now call to order the meeting of the Indianapolis Marion County Public Library Board. And I will ask Ms. Angie Gilbert to call the roll, please.
Mr. Biederman,
Present.
Mr. Bixby,
Present.
Mr. Lane,
Present.
Dr. Murtada,
Present.
Dr. Payne,
Present.
and Ms. Tribble.
Present.
We do have a quorum.
The chair recognizes the quorum. I would like to ask Ms. Jenna Maddox, the branch manager here at Martindale Brightwood, to provide a report on community and services. Welcome, Ms. Maddox.
Thank you.
It's nice to see you.
Yeah. President Tribble, members of the library board, welcome to the Martindale Brightwood Library Branch. We're really happy to host you all here today. We've been in this really beautiful building for about 2.5 years. Previously, we were across the street at the Safeway, in the Safeway strip mall. But we've had a location here in this community since 1901. We were the 6th library branch to open in the Indianapolis Public Library System. And we moved in here in June of 2020. The Martindale Brightwood Library Branch serves about 13,000 people in this community. About 91% of our population is people of color. The patrons in this area work really hard for this new branch to be opened, and they're very proud of this branch, their community, and the history in this area. We're really lucky to have really wonderful partners here in this community. Martin University is one of our big partners. They're a university just down the road from us, and we kind of serve as an extension of their campus. And so their students can come here and get help with like workshops with applying for jobs or helping with research. We can also go there and offer that those same resources. And we can also go there and sign up all of their students and staff for library cards as well. Another one of our big partners is the Edna Martin Christian Center. They have 2 locations in this area, and they offer a whole range of great services, everything from rental and housing support, help with tutoring, help with finding childcare support. And then they also offer all of those services in Spanish as well. We work with a couple of schools in this area. The main ones that we work with are the Oaks Academy, School 51, School 56, and KIPP Indy. We also have a lot of really great partnerships within this branch. We offer free after-school meals 4 days a week through the Indy Parks Department. And we also offer a free COVID vaccination clinic 5 days a week in a partnership with the Marion County Public Health Department. And we also offer free HIV counseling through Step Up. We have a wide range of programs that we offer here in our community room. We offer story times every Wednesday morning. We have an adult book club the first Monday night of the month. We have computer classes every Wednesday, a career center every Thursday, and then a family game night or an art station every Thursday evening. When we opened, of course, the branch, it was during COVID, and so we didn't have any in-person programs. So we really started that last spring, and it's been really exciting to see that slowly build up, and we've really gotten more support from the community and have had more people attending our different programs. Does anyone have any questions? All right, well, thank you. Yeah.
I'm used to seeing the demographics and everything in our book, in our report. Didn't we used to have that in our report?
We did, and I apologize.
Okay.
I can make sure that I get that to you.
Yeah.
The branch profile. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay.
Well, then can we ask, how many full-time staff do you have? Like, can you break it down by
Yeah,
full-time librarians?
I
part-time?
can.
Okay, cool.
All right. So we have a branch manager, and then we have 1 full-time adult librarian, 1 full-time juvenile PSA 2. We have a circulation supervisor 1, and then we have a full-time computer assistant 2, We have 2 full-time library assistant 2s, an hourly library assistant 2. We have a part-time page, and we have a part-time library security assistant.
And in terms of like technology needs, can you talk about what kind of tech needs that you service for the community?
Yeah, so probably the busiest area of our library is up around the computers and the circulation desk. There's a lot of need for computer help and technology assistance in this area. So we do a lot of help with like computers and job skills. And so we also offer free hotspots and free Chromebook device checkouts. And then we have the computer classes every Wednesday, and it cycles through a wide range of things from like introduction to Gmail or introduction to Microsoft 10. And then the Career Center we have every Thursday. You can sign up for it in advance, or you can walk in, and that's where you can get any sort of assistance with applying for jobs, help with your resume, or after you've already gotten a job offer, we can help with the onboarding paperwork that's online.
Great.
All right, any other questions?
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms.
Yeah,
Maddox.
thank you.
We appreciate you. So I want to, already gotten a note about everybody lifting your voice and using your outside voice so that everyone can hear you. And if I get soft, can I ask you in the back row to just raise your hand and remind me to bring it up? Thank you. So good evening, everybody, board members and members of the public. I want to begin tonight by thanking the staff here at Martindale Brightwood Branch for hosting us this evening. And thank you, Ms. Maddox, for a very insightful report about what's happening in Martindale Brightwood. The report really illustrates the great work that branch librarians do in planning programs and serving the local neighborhoods. She's shown how our libraries serve as vital learning hubs and as crucial connections to other public services, and they do it all quietly. That was a joke. Throughout 2023, we'll be rotating our regular ND board meetings through our branches as a way of highlighting the incredible work of our library staff and showcasing them and our branches as the great community assets that they are. It is so exciting to be here at Martindale Brightwood. We have been looking forward to getting the board meetings back into the branches, and this is a great place to start. This past month, our branches across the city have provided programming and activities to commemorate Black History Month. In addition to the year-round and ongoing work and programming of the NDPL Center for Black Literature and Culture, our libraries have highlighted Black authors, shown biographical movies about historical Black Americans, and participated in the 1619 Project Read Along. Central Library also hosted the 35th anniversary of the Meet the Artist exhibit, featuring master artists and highlighting the work of numerous Black artists who have shared their talents and creativity with the Indianapolis community throughout the event's history. The gala opening reception was held on February 11th at Central Library and featured live performances from musicians and entertainers, activities for kids, a fashion show, and much more. The artist exhibits will remain on display at Central Library through March 25th, and we encourage all of you, if you haven't seen it yet, to take in the exhibits while you can. Events like Meet the Artists and other celebrations of Black History Month do a great deal to support the culture in our city. Every member of the NDPL team has reason to feel proud of that work. At the same time, we continue to work toward improving the library's culture internally. And I want to thank Acting CEO Gregory Hill and the NDPL Executive Committee for taking the lead on implementing the recommendations from the library's climate study and for identifying resources to support the board's role in implementation. This work creates an opportunity for this board to learn and grow together as trustees so that we can provide the best possible leadership to NDPL as we move into the future. Next on our agenda is the public comment section. We welcome feedback from the public about our Indianapolis libraries, and this is a time when the public may address the board. If several of you are here representing the same group, please select a spokesperson. To respect everyone's time, please do not repeat the same comments someone else has offered. Please note that this public comment time is not the appropriate time or forum for commenting on matters related to alleged employee misconduct. Any such matters should be brought promptly to the attention of the library's acting CEO or the Human Resources Department, where those issues can be properly addressed in compliance with established library policy and procedures. A 5-minute limit will be allowed for each speaker. And because this meeting is a matter of public record, we ask that as you step forward, before you give your testimony, please provide your name and address at the beginning of your comments. I'll now ask Ms. Angie Gilbert to call those who have signed up to speak.
Mike Williams.
Hi, Mike.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. CEO. Tonight, I come before you not as a library employee, although I have been one for 41 years, and I have served in many different roles throughout this system. I live at 3921 English Avenue, which is about halfway between East Washington and Irvington, both of which I have looked after over the years during my career. Tonight, however, I come before you as past president of the Indiana Library Federation with an urgent request. The Indiana Library Federation asked you to contact your Indiana State Senator immediately to urge them to vote no when Senate Bill 12 is heard tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. ILF is opposed to Senate Bill 12 as it currently is written. The reasons include it will result in librarians being prosecuted for books collected for the library. It politicizes the materials we have available and prevents us from collecting for diverse populations. It has a chilling effect on library collections due to fear of criminal prosecutions. It does not embody the principles of the First Amendment and free access to information. I urge you to take immediate action to contact your state senator and urge them to vote no on this, I believe, very harmful legislation. Thank you.
Very
Thank
good.
you, Mike.
Thank you. Mike.
Danny Abdullah.
I'm gonna take my mask off. My voice is really low, so if you can't hear me, let me know. Hi, everyone. So my name is Danny Abdullah. I'm a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Hi, Stephen. I'm a mental health therapist, and I've been a citizen of Indianapolis for my entire 30 years of life, and a public library patron for the past 25 years. So I just wanted to say I'm really excited to see that Dr. Eugene White is being considered for appointment. Dr. White was actually my superintendent when I attended Crooked Creek Elementary School. He would come to our schools and he always shook my hand, congratulated me when I made the honor roll. And this was my norm throughout elementary school. But I was later told that it was uncommon for superintendents to take the time out of their days to meet the students that they were making decisions for. Because of my interactions with Dr. White, I know he values the community and he'll take our demands seriously. With Dr. White on the board, the number of board members who will take the demands of the community of Indianapolis, and more importantly, the NDPL employees' demands and concerns seriously will have increased. The working environment for the library workers continues to be disorganized and sometimes downright hostile. The upheaval in executive leadership stems from the board's catastrophic failure in the CEO search and continued disregard for the public's opinion to appoint Nichelle Hayes as CEO Instead of trying to take corrective action and do right by the workers and the community, Hope Tribble, once appointed the president of this board, decided to continue the same pattern of disrespect for the community by continuing her predecessor's efforts to stand in the way of the community's wishes. Due to this, I feel that Ms. Tribble needs to resign and allow someone to take over as president who will not waste the people's time and money. A president who actually cares about the people in this community. I'm excited to see what the future holds for the board and the Indy Public Libraries with the additions of Dr. White and Stephen and the continued support of Dr. Matata and Dr. Payne. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Eli Maury.
Hello, my name is Eli Maury. I'm here representing the Indianapolis Liberation Center. And I'm here to, I won't take too much of your time, but I'm here to say exactly what's on this sign right here. No more excuses, hire Hayes now. That's what the community has been saying all this time. It's what the library workers want. It's what the patrons want. It's what the community wants. I have been coming to library board meetings. I never expected I'd come to this many library board meetings in my entire life. This isn't really what I want to do on my evenings. I'm tired of it. So that means I'm sure that all of you are tired of this. And more than anything, the library workers are tired of the constant resignations, the changing work environment, basically not being heard. And the community is tired of having to come out here and beg you to do what you were hired to do, which was what you were appointed to do, which was to serve the community and listen to our wishes. I personally know several library workers, and everyone I know who works for the library says they're sick of the chaos. They're sick of the constant changes. They want security. They want things to settle down. That's what we're here for too. We're not here to stir up a ruckus and cause problems. We want the library workers to have what they need, which is security and a work environment that works for them. So that's all I'm going to say. In addition to that, I also want to say that the members of this board who have stood in the way of the community's wishes need to resign. Hope Tribble, Curtis Bigsby, Raymond Biederman. It's time for you to resign. You've stood in our way for too long. But before you resign, you could do us all a favor and hire Hayes, because she's going to be hired one way or another. So make the right decision and hire her so that your legacy isn't quite as tarnished as it's going to be if you don't. Thank you.
Thank you.
I apologize before because I cannot pronounce her name. Masharika.
Sariki Jamada.
Thank you. Stephen. I should know, right?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for this opportunity. I also have attended many more library board meetings than I want to. I'm retired. I like to sit at home and watch my little shows on Monday. But this needs our attention. And the reason we keep coming back is because no one is responding to what the community is saying. What is the community? What is the community saying? Hire Nichelle. And you haven't given us any reasonable reason as to why not. The second demand that the community has, and thousands of people have signed petitions, is that Tribble, Bigsby, and Biederman resign. Why? Because of your decisions. It's caused all this chaos. We have the staff who, I've spoken to several of them, so the morale is really low. The library should be a happy place where you go and you get services and people are there to serve you. And it's very difficult under these circumstances. So I was just asked the other day, someone who had looked at the situation said, I'm confused. Why didn't they seat Nichelle? So, I really don't know. I still don't know. We don't know. You haven't said why. You just she's a non-entity moving away from her and making all of these other bad decisions. Bad decisions to do a national search. Bad decision to hire a consultant, wasting our money. And so because of that, we have no confidence in your ability to run this library board. We really don't. You might be good people. I don't know you. But this has to stop and it needs to stop. And I'm here to reiterate what I've been saying month after month. Michelle needs to be in that seat. She needs to have the opportunity to bring this library back into focus. And she has those skills. She has that desire. And we have the desire for her to do it. Let's give her a chance. And for those of you, and I don't know why we are here. I've heard that many of you are actually controlled by other people, and you might be. But we don't need you to tear our library down. I just saw a statement the other day that said, sometimes when people can't steer the ship, they'd rather sink it. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wild Style Pascal.
Hello, I'm Wild Style Michelle. I live at 1037 West 33rd Street. I'm here to represent what's on this sign. No new search. Appoint Nichelle Hayes now. Congratulations to some of the members of the boards for continuing the great attendance at library board meetings. At some point, I think we all have other fights to get to. Hopefully, some of y'all have other fights to get to as well. This has come down to an epic battle of, I would say, the old guard versus the community and the cultural leaders. As Queen Mother Mashariki said, it is known to the community that some of y'all are controlled by other people that probably are not in this room. Some of those people have even, and their friends have even talked about walking out of a panel that me and Nichelle and Stephen Lane and Jessica Louise were on. Why they thought they needed to tell me that, I did not understand. It hasn't changed my actions, and I don't think I'm going to change their actions, but I'm telling y'all, the community is not going to forget this, and we're not going to back down. Nobody's ever given a valid excuse for what's going on. We've had every types of forms of gaslighting, intimidation, the police, the heavy police presence. We've had the heavy police presence, not just to intimidate us, but to make it look like we're some savage animals that are attacking y'all for doing y'all's best job, when it's clear the facts state that y'all been unethical. Biederman, Tribble, Bigsby, who's the other one? Am I missing somebody? Oh yeah, Salinas. He's probably prosecuting or putting somebody in jail right now. But y'all been unethical, incompetent, and you've tried to gaslight us, the community, into thinking that these changing narratives about what happened. First it was, the search was compromised, so we wait 21 days to go hire somebody else after the search was compromised, and now when he won't come now, it's too compromised to continue. We have to start over. You knew 13 days before you did the presentations. Then I don't know which one of y'all had the library website changed to reflect the resolution that you passed, that you said one thing on the library website, but the resolution doesn't say that Nichelle had to be removed as interim CEO. So there's all sorts of just mess. Please, I mean, for y'all's reputation, you got y'all's names going around at the Kwanzaa committee celebrations, like with a whole hundreds of people in the room, and they're rallying the community against y'all. Is that really what you want your legacy to be? I couldn't imagine that, and for no good reason. Like I've heard the public excuses, I've heard the private excuses, the the little vindictive innuendos and stuff, and none of it checks out. It's not plausible. Please just do the right thing. The community is getting tired, but oftentimes when people get tired, they get angry. And I don't think that the community being tired is going to result in more pleasant conversation. Like we're getting tired. We'll keep coming back and making a ruckus. And we're not making a ruckus here, but it's going to happen. I don't understand why we can't just do the right thing. Also, you got to understand that when you make the national news for board incompetence, a CEO search gone wrong, a candidate that was probably not qualified. Okay, he wasn't qualified. Take the job and he turns it down. Nobody else is going to come work for you. You better best believe you should be happy that Nichelle still wants this job. You should be calling her right now and baking cakes and cookies and whatever else to get her in here to take this job. I am serious, because you won't find a better candidate. It would have been hard pressed to find a better candidate had this not happened. But Nichelle is absolutely the best candidate for this job.
Thank you.
Raleigh Bovee.
Yes. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Riley. I'm a member of Indy Hope Packages. I'm a graduate student at UIndy, and I've been a resident of Indianapolis for 6 years now. I'm here tonight to give my support to the library workers and to Nichelle Hayes as the next CEO of IndyPL. With the exception of Dr. Murtada, Dr. Payne, and Stephen Lane, the three members of the board, Hope Tribble, Curtis Bigsby, and Raymond Biederman, have constantly been impeding the hiring of Nichelle and silencing the workers and community members who want Nichelle as CEO. The people's choice, the workers' choice, and the community's choice. To Hope Tribble, Curtis Bigsby, and Raymond Biederman, the people have told you time and time again who they want as CEO, and yet you bypass them. You bring in candidates who don't know the community and who are probably going to be out within 5 years or so because they see this job as a resume booster versus Nichelle, who knows the community, puts time and energy, and has proven time and time again that she is the best one for the job. The three members on the board who have named are running a circus show and wasting time, money, and resources by drawing this process out. It is absolutely ridiculous to start the search process again when there's already a candidate who's willing, who is strong. Hello? If they're not willing to hear from the community and workers, then they should not be in the position that they are and should leave. Hire Nichelle Hayes or get out. Thank you for your time.
Sam James.
Hello, I'm Sam James. I didn't actually realize I was signing up for public comment when I came in. I saw Riley signing up and I was like, oh, we're signing in today. So forgive me, I don't have all my thoughts prepared. My words won't be as powerful as Riley's were. I had 3 points I wanted to make. As you can see, I'm another person with one of those signs I'm sure some of y'all are tired of seeing by now. One, I love coming to these branches. I love having the board meetings in the branches. That's awesome. I think it's beautiful. I've never been to this branch before. Mine is Wayne on the other side of town. And I think that if you really wanted to highlight and appreciate your library employees, you would hire a CEO, the CEO who helped to win a 5 to 7% raise across the board for all employees last year. One who came up through the ranks and knows what the people working here actually need and what it's like to work in the libraries. Two, I think it's kind of offensive that you cited the Center for Black Literature earlier in your opening statement without mentioning Michelle's name, especially after the disrespect with which she was treated by members of the board here. Lastly, third point, it's really ridiculous that we keep coming here to see armed IMPD officers, y'all. Not once in the past 5 months has anyone at these board meetings been violent or aggressive or come at one of y'all with anything other than words. The fact that you are so scared of the people that you have to have men with guns standing outside the door is goofy. It's goofy as hell. That's all I had. Thank you.
Everybody's good?
I just want to know, who is approving the police to be here? Is it you?
We actually talk about the logistics of the meeting. I coordinate that with our CEO and the
And
team.
why aren't we involved in that decision-making process?
I don't know that it's necessary for you to be involved in every
think
part
it's
of the
very
process. Let me finish
necessary.
talking, please.
It's very
Stephen,
necessary.
there is, first of all, we have security, right? We do have a security staff. And contrary to what has been said, members have been aggressively approached. And I can tell you, I will always come in the front door and I will always go out the back door. But it is not the same for everybody. And the other thing is that we are called here to do the business of the library.
Right,
And
and you're
let
not
me-
called
let
to
me
do it by
finish.
yourself.
Order. There's, Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I think it's not appropriate as far as members arguing back and forth.
Right, I just want to make a
And-
point that
If-
we're,
I'm still in my point of view,
let's go.
that we should be able to make our statements and respect that of each other without interrupting. That was my point of order.
Sure.
Thank you.
And my point is that no one is on this board by themselves. We're all on this board together. Therefore, the decisions that we make, even when it comes down to security or, anything like that, that has a cost to it, that's charging the public library, we should all be a part of that decision-making process. And we're not. And how much extra is it to have IMPD officers here at a board meeting? Can you speak to that?
I do not know. But I am speaking to the safety of our board as well as to the order of this public assembly. Anything else?
Let's continue.
Thank you.
Nothing else, but I agree specifically with what Stephen's point is. There is no need for taxpayer money to be going to pay for, especially as many as we've had. And I've addressed this with Greg. And it looks like we have less today than we have before. So I thank you for that. But I'm waiting for the day when we have no security out here.
I will, Madam Chair,
Yes.
I will say that there has been some discussion even in previous committee meetings about security at our branches. And I don't see that it being a problem of us having security here for some of the reasons that you laid out in some of your comments. Yeah, maybe less may be better, but our staff has asked for that too in the past. I think we should stay in that path.
Again, point of order, it's not the fact that we have security, it's the fact that y'all are bypassing other members of this board and making decisions on behalf of this board that affects the whole library. And we gotta stop doing that. We have to learn how to work together as a democratic body. That's the point, that's getting missed. That seems to be going over your head.
It's not like it's being hidden. It's in our budget for security.
Well, how much is being spent and why don't we all know that?
If you look at the treasury report, you would know.
We're gonna move on with the agenda. Approval of minutes. We have four minutes from 4 meetings to approve. The first is for the special meeting of January 17th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting held January 17th, 2023?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The minutes have been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, so we'll have a roll call to approve the minutes.
Mr. Biederman,
Approve?
Mr. Bixby,
Approve.
Mr. Lane,
Approved.
Dr. Matata,
Approved.
Dr. Payne,
Approved.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approve.
Thank you.
The motion's carried. On to the regular meeting for January 23rd, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on January 23rd, 2023?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The minutes have been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, on pages 20, 21 of our notes, we were having discussion about the Ice Miller contract. There was a part in there where Ice Miller was, budgeted for $38,000. Curtis Bigsby stated with such confidence and conviction that the Ice Miller contract was for $130,000. I don't see that reflected in the notes. And I would like that to be reflected in the notes. And it should also stand as a lesson for board members if we don't, because Bigsby later retracted that statement and email that, it's a waste of our time if we don't have all the facts and information in front of us.
And actually.
And if you're gonna say
yeah.
something with such
Point of information.
confidence and
information.
conviction, you should at least say it correctly.
Point of information
What you're
has a
talking about.
priority ruling over his request. Either he wants to answer or he doesn't have to. I did not say it within confidence. You know what the email said. Don't try to misconstrue what I said. If you want to answer that.
Sir, you
It's
said
up
it
to
what,
You can make a matter of fact or.
yeah,
or a
you
matter
said
of a
that,
statement,
an
however you wanna say
error.
it. However,
Uh-huh.
what I said is what I said. Don't
Okay.
try to misconstrue. the
Okay,
fact.
that you said it, so let's get it reflected in the notes,
Okay,
please.
well,
Thank you.
reflected the notes exactly how I said it.
Okay.
Is there anything further? Okay, if there's no further discussion. Is that,
I'm not sure if that was a motion to.
is that a motion?
Motion to amend, yes, to reflect
okay.
Curtis Bigsby's comments of the $130,000. Thank you.
Okay, is there a second for the motion?
Second.
Okay. The motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay,
Motion to amend. What are we amending it to say?
and what would you amend it to say?
So it would be that Curtis Bigsby stated that the Ice Miller contract was actually for $130,000 instead of $100,000.
I did not say that.
I believe that's on tape.
You can review the tape and rewind the tape. It's not said.
Motion and second.
Okay, so the motion has been made and seconded, and we will call the roll, please.
Mr. Biederman,
No.
Mr. Bixby,
No.
Mr. Lane,
Approved.
Dr. Matata,
I'm not clear. What does it actually say in the minutes?
It says, it reflects a comment that Dr.
Talk louder, Stephen.
It reflects a comment that Dr. Payne was
Okay.
talking about the $130,000, yet it leaves out the part that Curtis said that the contract with Ice Miller was for $130,000. And he said that in error.
I did not say that.
I abstain.
Dr. Payne
Approve.
and Ms. Tribble.
No. So the motion does not pass. We'll move forward with the roll call for the minutes from the meeting from January 23rd.
Mr. Biederman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Mr. Lane,
No,
Dr. Matata,
Approved.
Dr. Payne,
Approved.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved.
Thank you.
The motion carries. We'll move forward to the minutes from the executive session from February 16th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the executive session from February 16th, 2023?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The minutes have been moved and seconded. Any discussion? We'll now have a roll call to approve the minutes.
Mr. Biederman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Mr. Lane,
approved.
Dr. Matata,
Approved.
Dr. Payne,
Approved.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved.
Thank you.
And the last minutes are for the special meeting of February 16th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting held on February 16th, 2023?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The minutes have been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Biederman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Mr. Lane,
Approved.
Dr. Matata,
Approved.
Dr. Payne,
Approved.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved.
Thank you.
The motion carries. We'll move on to committee reports, beginning with the Finance Committee. Dr. Payne,
Lolita, you come up?
actually, we are going to start with the treasurer report.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna pass out on here, so I didn't let them hold it.
Thank you.
Lolita Campbell is distributing a monthly highlight cover page that will be included in the treasurer's report going forward.
Thanks.
Thank you. And the treasurer's report begins on page 52 of the board packet. I wanted to make a quick note first on the Fund 101 income statement that begins on page 55. You'll notice that the purchase order column is displaying negative values. That is an error. It will be corrected in a subsequent revised report. This is due to the timing of year-end closing for 2022. The resolution we presented last month for POs from 22 that are rolling forward to 2023. Part of the year-end closing rolls those POs forward. So that is why it's displaying negative, is because they had not been moved forward. But the actuals on the report are accurate. It's just the purchase order column. Okay. So beginning with revenue highlights, actual revenue exceeded our projections for the month by 24% and are 40% more than they were for January of 2022. This is partly due to local income taxes being 3% higher than projected. And then charges for services were 123% higher than expected. This is due to an increase in catering revenue, miscellaneous revenue, interest income, and facility rental revenue. To give you an idea of the difference, in last January 2022, the library earned $2,900 in interest. And January 2023, the libraries earned $86,000 in interest. The highest interest rate offered by any of the institutions we invest with in January 2022 was 0.3%. And in January 2023 was 4.39%. You can see the difference a year makes. In miscellaneous revenue, the bulk of that increase is due to a rebate that we get from AES for energy incentives. We got almost $23,000 from that rebate in January. And our catering revenue in January 2022 was $2,100, and catering revenue in this January 2023 was $25,000. So we have more people coming, using our facilities, having weddings and events. So we're getting back to a little bit more back to normal. Looking through expenses, expenditures, we spent 27% less than projected and 11% more than we did January 2022. In personal services, which is our salaries and benefits, we spent 3% less than projected. And this is due to vacant positions. When we build the budget, we budget for all positions, whether they're filled or vacant. For supplies, we spent 71% more than projected. This is due to an increase in system-wide office supplies. For example, our IT department purchased PCs for a PC refresh, and we've replaced a number of book carts that have been falling apart and they're just past the point of repair. And it turns out they're kind of expensive. Finally, other services and charges. We spent 21% less than projected. This is due to the timing of year-end closing and beginning of current year invoice processing of collection materials. In January of this year, we spent $25 on contractual materials, which is like ebooks and our e-resources. And this is just because of the timing issue getting the year started up again. Normally January is a pretty quiet month for purchasing materials for us. And then finally, capital outlay is also very low, spent 90% less than projected. And this is also due to books and materials. We only spent about $50,000 when we expected to spend more like $250,000. Finally, at the bottom of the highlight page, you can see our beginning cash balance for January was $40,262,440, adding in revenue of $601,481, less expenses of $2,359,111, gives us an ending cash balance at the end of January of $38,504,810. Did anyone have any questions?
Thank you. And I did not introduce you, Jennifer, as our treasurer. Thank you for that report. I do have a question. The ending cash balance, is that just the general fund or is that all funds?
That is just the general fund.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Okay, we'll move forward. Thank you, Jennifer.
Oh,
Did you? Oh, we have to approve it. Is there a motion to accept the report of the treasurer for January 2023 for filing for audit?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Biederman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Mr. Lane,
Approved.
Dr. Vitata,
Approved.
Dr. Payne
Approved.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved.
Thank you.
And thank you for this summary. It's a nice way to get the big picture of the activity. Appreciate it.
Sure. Okay, so next, we're going to present the transfer resolution, which begins on page 68 of your packet. And its subject is transfer between classifications and accounts. This is resolution 10-2023. It comes out of the February 14th meeting of the Finance Committee and covers approximately 1 month of the Chief Administrative Officer's contract. The transfer reflected in the resolution moves funds from the CEO salary account to CEO consulting account. There is no impact to the 2023 budget.
Is there a motion?
So.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
So this is to pay the chief administrative officer?
Correct.
Any other questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Biederman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved?
Mr. Lane,
No?
Dr. Matata,
Approved.
Dr. Payne
No.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved.
Thank you.
That was 10. Okay, resolution 10. The motion carries. And on to resolution number 11 for
I'd like to invite Shanika Hayward, the Director of IT, to present the resolution.
Sorry about that.
Good evening, members of the board.
Good evening.
And thanks for that introduction. Once again, my name is Shanika Hayward and I serve on the IT team. And I'm coming for resolution 11, which is item 5C. It's for the renewal of our ILS, which is our Polaris. It approved out of committee. Is there any questions on that? It was approved.
Would you tell us?
Everybody hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Just for folks here, can you give a little bit of background of what it's for?
Absolutely. So right here in your packet as well. It's what we agreed for the 3%, which is really great rate for the next 3 years. So that's also in there. But our Polaris is our ILS system. It's where our cataloging is ran. So when people come in to get a library card or check out materials, that's the actual system. And then our collection management service area, they use it to actually purchase materials from that database as well. So it's just that system and that software. Is there additional questions of that? No. No, that's good. Okay.
It looked like, so for the next 3 years, it's gonna go up $9,000.
Right, it's 3% of the total. Mhm.
And so do you think that'll be sustainable going into the future with our budget and things like that, the way it's being spent so frivolously these days? Do you think that's sustainable?
Yes, we budget for 5 years out. So as long as things go according to plan, we should have the funding there.
Okay.
That's a good question.
In the finance committee, we discussed it and Shanika gave a full report and we saw that it was sustainable to your question.
Thank you.
And we found that it was important that we give that support for Polaris.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen.
Any further questions? If not, is there a motion to approve resolution 11?
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Please, any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Biederman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Mr. Lane,
Approved?
Dr. Matata, Dr. Payne
Approved.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved.
Thank you.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hayward. Does that conclude the Finance Committee report? We'll move on to the Diversity Policy and Human Resources Committee. Mr. Biederman, anything to,
Nothing to report this month. Thank you.
thank you. Moving forward with the Facilities Committee, Mr. Bigsby?
We didn't have any board action items actually coming out of facilities. I think Adam was going to do a little brief update on a couple of things that are happening around some of the branches.
Great. Welcome, Mr. Parsons.
Thank you. I will start by saying I apologize for the heat. Brief explanation, during our cold snap, we had a couple of things break, a couple of pipes break that we had to clean up from, and we're still repairing that. We thought we had a workaround, but unfortunately it's not working around as much as we had hoped. So I apologize for that. Hopefully that will be the last apology I have to make this year. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on some of the construction and contracts that we've been working on. I know we have a lot of moving parts in facilities. Many meetings that are open to the public, community engagement. So this is just a quick rundown of what we've been doing the past 6 months to a year and what we can hope to see in the next 6 months or so. So as far as construction, the two biggies, Fort Bend and Glendale. Fort Bend is moving right along with a goal to be ready for us to start moving our property in and start putting books on shelves in the beginning of June. Grand opening should be sometime in August. We're really getting close to finalizing that date in the next few weeks. Glendale had a little bit of a later start than Fort Bend. So they're targeted what's called substantial completion, where we can move our property in, is targeted for late July. That ran into a possible hiccup this past week. One of their air handling units now has a 3-month delay from late March, early April to about July. That poses two issues. One, we will need to bring in temporary cooling. It's for dehumidification requirements, which is fine. We can handle that. That won't impact the schedule. What will impact the schedule is the testing, balancing, and commissioning of that unit will now occur about 2 months later. We are working with the prime contractor to shore up the schedule, but it should have little impact on the grand opening, maybe 2 to 3 weeks. But other than that, things are going really well. I also wanted to follow up about the delay in the construction facilities in general. This is rather common nowadays. I know that we're coming up on 3 years since the pandemic was declared and supply chains went crazy, but this is a global issue. And we're talking about boats that are transversing complete oceans, sometimes halfway around the world. Unfortunately, these things do take time to work out. Case in point, we're buying a new box truck for shipping and receiving deliveries. Our standard is a Ford E350. The dealers are completely out. They have 0 on the lot in Indiana, and they won't get any for 6 months. So we can either wait for 6 months or we can pay a premium for an increased 450. So these are the kind of decisions that we have to take into account, the decisions we have to make with the situation facing us. But we're working through it. We've had a few delays here and there, but we're trying to minimize the impact. Okay, so those are the two biggies. The next two, Nora and Pike, are pretty much sister projects. Nora, they're both getting about $2 million renovations. Nora had their first community engagement meeting last week, which Dr. Murtada was at. It was very good, very insightful. We've had patron feedback throughout the preceding weeks. And so the design firm is taking all of that into consideration. We have 2 more community engagement meetings scheduled for the next 2 months. Similarly, Pike is going through the same process because it's the same firm doing both projects. Their first community engagement meeting is tomorrow night, actually at 7 p.m. 7, I hope it's 7. I looked at my calendar. It is 7. Thank you. And they will have another 2 meetings after that. There was a question of how do we engage specifically the high school students that go to Pike High School. How do we engage them for design consideration purposes at Pike Library? The steps that we considered, that facilities, the managers, and the design firm considered that. What we're going to do is hold the first community engagement session. Look at the turnout If necessary, the design team will go to Pike during the 3 to 4 p.m. afternoon period and elicit direct feedback from them if necessary. It may be that high school students and or their parents show up on their own during one of the 3 community engagement sessions, and we don't need to do that. So we're gauging it, and we'll act accordingly. Lastly, one of the 5th big one that we have going on this year is the learning curve at Central. That is currently in the design phase. We're setting up design meetings between facilities managers and the design firm. They'll start solving the problems that were discovered during the discovery phase, and construction should start late this fall. So really looking forward to that. We have a couple of smaller ones. We're doing a landscaping update at Central. We're tearing out a lot of invasive species that were installed 20 years ago, and we're going to install native plantings. We're taking care of a couple of the trees, a couple of dead trees that unfortunately haven't survived since Central opened. And then lastly, what was my last one? Oh, we just have an air handling unit that was being replaced at Franklin Road. The reason I wanted to bring that up is that we are really trying to get a second and possible third effort to try to utilize XBE vendors in our solicitations. So for example, we estimated that this would cost anywhere between 50 and 60,000. We emailed out into 9 vendors, as well as advertising on our website. We had our facilities technical assistant follow up with all 9 in one round, and then he actually had a third effort to reach out and reached out to all 9 of them with a phone call. And that third round of phone calls allowed, I want to say, Watt Mechanical, who is a minority-owned business, come in at $41,000, which was $9,000 below our minimum expectations, and they will self-perform 100% of the work. So we are focusing on that. And this is a little bit of a brag for facilities. I can't really take ownership of this. My team has been doing great. They've really been focusing on achieving our goals. So any questions there as far as construction? I just have a couple of minutes of contracts and I'll be done.
Just one point. I want to commend the facilities team as well. Whenever we've asked about what does it mean to work with minority vendors and contractors, women-owned businesses, you've always stepped up to the plate, shared data, shared what the processes are, et cetera. So please give your team the commendation for that, because we do ask those hard questions and you have been responsive to them. The whole idea of getting more high school students' input, we raised that as an issue because for many years, high school students have been not solicited for their information and their input. So making an effort to go to Pike is commendable as well. 3 to 4, you might want to work with someone there at Pike to see when might be a good time to actually get some more of the high school student input.
Yeah, we've had some discussions with Chris, the manager there. And I use 3 to 4 as an example because it's after school. But yeah, we'll narrow in the time frame. I do know that the design team or facilities reached out to the principal there and told them that we were redesigning or renovating, and that we wanted input from the local community, the high school community, anybody who could use it. So they're trying to spread the word within the high school. Unfortunately, it's just one of any number of things that come across their desk in a day. And so I don't know how impactful it would be. Just nature of the beast.
Maybe student government. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
let
don't
me
know.
write that
Maybe
down.
student government might be a way to go with it. But we've had past experiences where a number of times young people have had a difficult time at some of the branches. And so trying to get some input from our young people would be invaluable.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you. I'm going to segue that into one other little brag, and working with Gwen Simmons, our manager of purchasing and minority supply. She does a annual review of each departmental XBE spend. And I want to say I ran the numbers and facilities was right around 41% in total XBE spend. And this was compared to a goal of 27% as the sum of our 4 individual XBE goals. So we are running above average for the 4 combined. I don't have the breakout of the 4 individuals, unfortunately. I'm not even going to guesstimate to say, what they are. Lastly, we did have a transition for our housekeeping contractor. That's been the buzz of the branches the past month or so. We welcomed Camacho Housekeeping and Janitorial starting on February 1st. And they've done a really good job reacting to each individual library's unique needs. Not just personnel or staffing, but also the facilities and the patrons and the hours and everything else. I also want to tell all the staff who are possibly listening a big thank you to them, because they have been very reactive and they've been very informative about what is working and what is not working. We did have some bumps, as you can imagine, a system-wide entire system change overnight would be. And the staff has taken those changes in stride. And they've given me wonderful feedback. They've given Camacho wonderful feedback. And we are now reducing the issues quite a bit. I talked with the main Camacho representative, and we have work orders flowing directly through him. He said that between 3 weeks ago and last Friday, work orders have been cut down by half. And so we're really fine tuning the operations. And so we're happy about that. Hopefully in the next month, we shouldn't have any issues outside of the norm. That was about it. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on what's happening, what will be happening. And I will be sure to have a board action item for you guys to vote on next month. All right, thank you.
Mr. Carson. Any questions?
Oh, yeah, I guess any
That was
questions?
a great,
Sorry.
yeah, I appreciate the update.
You did mention, that the pandemic was, an issue with, supply chains and whatnot. Keeping that in mind, when you're thinking of like updating the buildings, the library buildings and branches, are you updating the buildings to like new COVID standards to like adjust for COVID or account for germs?
One of the primary things that we do for COVID really isn't so much what equipment we use, but what operations we run. And so one of the best things you can do is make sure that your equipment is running 1 hour on, 1 hour off, regardless of temperature, even if you have to just bring in outside air or recycle the indoor air, as long as it gets through the filter. The second thing that we can do is use an upgraded filter. We can increase our filters to MERV 13, which is a filtration rating. If you get higher into the MERV ratings, they're called HEPA filters. I use a long E. Standard is to use a MERV 7. Which is pretty free because it reduces the amount of energy that the unit uses. It also lets through a lot of larger particles. If we upgrade to a MERV 11 or 13, that fine mesh should be able to catch any particular water droplets that the COVID virus would be attached to and keep it in there. We've looked at adding UVC lights into the inner workings of our units, but we haven't gone forward with it yet just because of the cost ineffectiveness right at the moment compared to filters. But that would be a change that we could make if and when we were to have another pandemic or any other issue at an individual branch or the system. So those are our two biggies when it comes to design.
Any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Parsons.
Great. Thank you.
We'll move on to item number 9 on the agenda, the Library Foundation update by our representative, Mr. Ray Biederman.
All right, thank you. So every month, the Library Foundation provides an update to the library board. First piece of business is this Saturday is the NDPL Foundation Circulate event. Yeah. All right, so that is this Saturday, March 4th, from 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's at Central Library. It's for 18 and older. There are activities and programs, including a escape room, a little meditation area. You get 2 drinks, some appetizers, a silent auction, and live music. So I would commend to you to go to the link, indyfoundation.org/circulate, and come to the event. That said, thanks to the hundreds of generous donors, Library Foundation provided $2.2 million to library programs and services in 2022. It's really great. In particular, thanks to the Indie Library Store's hardworking volunteers and staff for a successful 2022. The store raised $231,000, which is a 34% increase over 2021. February 11th, another thanks and congratulations to staff and volunteers for making the Meet the Artist Gala such a success. As far as donors go, there were 182 donors who made gifts last month. Some of the top corporate donors are Barnes and Thornburg, Bose McKinney and Evans, Citizens Energy, First Merchants Bank, Forvis. I could read the rest of them to you, but they're all in the report. As far as program support for this month, they provided more than $148,000 to the library. This included the concert series, young author visits, early childhood educators workshops, summer reading program, and growing global citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Biederman. We'll now move forward to item number 10 on our agenda, the report of the acting CEO, Mr. Gregory Hill.
All right, the resolution.
Yes, the
Okay.
confirming resolution.
I'm sorry, okay. Before you is the confirming resolution related to financial travel and personal matters occurring between each board meeting. This resolution is in the typical form, which is before you every month. I or any other EC members can answer any questions that you may have, but otherwise I would ask for the approval of the resolution.
Is there a motion to approve resolution 1223 regarding finances, personnel, and travel?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The resolution has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have,
Sorry, I have a question on page 86 of the report. For internal changes, I see there's one staff over here that's transitioning from one position in the learning curve into a new position in the learning curve. And this staff has been there for a number of years. They're going from services associate to a computer assistant to, and there's a over $2 difference in pay, and that it's going down. I think that was the only kind of internal change in pay that I saw, where the person was gonna make less in the new position, even though they're in the same department. Is there a reason why that employee is getting a $2.42 pay cut instead of staying at the same rate in that position?
Which one is that?
This is for
the third bullet
that's the second.
on this.
Okay, DeVito.
And internal changes, yeah.
I would assume it's because it's a lower pay grade. That would be my assumption.
Sure.
We can't hear you.
The PSA position is a higher pay grade and the computer assistant is a lower pay grade.
Yeah.
So we compare her experience with another computer assistant with the same years of
Okay.
experience. It was just a voluntary stepping down.
Thank you, Tisha. I really appreciate you answering that. I have a follow-up. So did that person who was moving into that new position, years of experience, were they staying in the same department or transitioning to a different department?
Was in the same department.
In department, okay, thank you, I appreciate that. My next question would be that on pay adjustments, we have our acting CEO is getting a significant, like a $5 pay increase. Does that not have to run through the board for a pay increase for a CEO?
That's the purpose of this resolution.
Okay. And what is the justification for the pay increase?
Keisha, would you mind coming forward? Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
So he is doing two positions right now, the interim public service, chief public services plus the acting CEO. And that's the
Because
reason
of-
behind it.
Okay, because of the
Mm, yep.
two positions. you want. If he was.
The library will be closing in 15 minutes. Public computers will shut down automatically 5 minutes before closing. If you have any materials to be checked out, please take them to the circulation desk at this time. If you need assistance finding materials, please come to the information desk.
Thank you, John Barnes.
Thank you, John.
I hope he's enjoying his retirement.
Yeah.
So if Greg were to leave the public services position, would that mean his pay would go back down to the?
Yes, it will be
67.30?
adjusted to the,
Okay.
to the previous,
Thank
yes.
you. I appreciate it.
All right, any other questions? Pardon? No? All right.
Okay.
Any further questions?
Just wanted to, it was not a question, it's a comment. I just wanted to commend the library staff for advancing and continuing to advance the work for making sure we have the Racial Equity Institute work for registration, moving forward with it and continuing that work. It's critically important. And I see the large numbers of individuals of the library staff that have been participating in it. And that's to be commended for the staff to continue to do that work. We appreciate it.
Great. Any further comments? So we will call the roll for resolution 12, 2023.
Mr. Biederman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Mr. Lane,
Approved.
Dr. Matada,
Approved.
Dr. Payne,
Approved.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved.
Thank you.
Greg,
Oh, I'm sorry.
continue.
All right, I'm sorry. Good evening. The staff of the Indianapolis Public Library continues to focus on supporting lifelong learning in the city of Indianapolis. System-wide communications, we continue to hold meetings with staff at branch locations as well as departments. In January, the executive committee held its meeting at the Glendale branch, and we are also scheduled at the Nora branch, but we were closed on that day that we were scheduled to go to Nora. The area resource managers held its meeting at the Warren Branch Library in January. In the package, it talks about the McFadden lecture, but I just received an email at 6 p.m. that's going to be canceled because she's sick. Sylvia's is sick. It's going to be postponed, hopefully, but she's sick, so we don't know how that's going to shake out. The library's 150th anniversary. The Indianapolis Public Library will celebrate 150 years of service throughout 2023. While the calendar of the anniversary is April 9th, 1873, this coincides with Easter Sunday in 2023, and thus, because the library will be closed in observance of Easter's holiday, it is not really a fitting date to offer a public celebration of this momentous occasion. Instead, there will be a special logo already in use on posters, other printed pieces, and in staff email signatures. New floor mats for every location have been received and will be deployed later in March so that they are fresh for the April anniversary and avoid as much of the winter slush as possible to preserve their freshness. On June the 3rd, 2023 at 1:50 p.m., cupcakes or cookies, depending on the cost, will be served at every public services location to celebrate the 150th anniversary and kick off the annual adult and juvenile summer reading program. Both Digital Indy and the Encyclopedia of Indianapolis are working to develop special features commemorating the anniversary. A special program and exhibit is being planned for the Indianapolis Special Collections Room that will look at the progress the library has made, as well as the challenges it has faced in the 150 years of service. A committee is at work developing more details, and of course, the library's communication team will feature special images and stories throughout the year in the library's social media channels. The committee includes staff members Amira Malcolm, Bradley Johnson, Carrie Genovese, Christopher Hogsett, Cordia Watkins, Elizabeth Shuttle, Jessica Fisher, Katie Bueloff, Kim Ewers, Michelle Sharp, Montoya Barker, Natasha Hollenbach, Shell Wiedenbach, with special help from retired Arms Sharon Bernhardt and retired Library Director Raymond Knapp. And then thanks to Mike Williams is chairing the effort. Accessibility workstations. We are excited about the accessibility workstations. All branch locations will have a workstation. The stations will provide resources for the public to aid in a series of high impact hurdles. We have brought forward several Windows options and are adding some hardware to help make our technology accessible to everyone. This includes screen readers, large print keyboards, easy to use mice, and access to Windows options that allow for easier use within the operating system. With these adjustments to the computer hardware and software, we have also acquired desks that raise and lower to accommodate all forms of users. And then I just have a list of some partners that we work with across the system: Immigrant Welcome Center, Fathers and Families, and then the Burmese American Community Institute. And then IPS expansion in the shared systems. Deb will do a presentation on that.
Right, Deb, I just wanted to find out from Mike and the committee, are there things that in this 150th celebration, 150 years is just tremendous. Thank you and the committee for bringing it together. Are there some special things that you see as on the horizon that really speaks to this momentous occasion? Sorry to interrupt there, just. My spot.
I think the biggest thing is that we will be looking at staff, past and present, as well as all of our award-winning staff. Just outside my office at the LSC, there are 3 big plaques on the wall. The folks who have won the Staff Association Distinguished Service Award, the folks who have won the Foundation Service Award, and the folks who have won the Helen L. Norris Service Award. We want to go back and do some profiles of each of those individuals. Some of them are still with us, so we might be able to interview them and do a little recorded history. Other folks have long since departed this mortal coil, and we will memorialize them as best we can. So we're looking forward to celebrating 150 years of accomplishments.
It's tremendous, and I'm hopeful that as a part of this celebration, that we recognize the momentous occasion of launching the Center for Black Literature and Culture. And it's a major event for the library, pronounced in every single way and across the Midwest. So that's something we want to make sure that we recognize. But we also have done some amazing work in some other ways as well. And under Nichelle's leadership, when that occurred, to grow that and develop it without a big staff to do it, it was just tremendous. And I hope we do make sure that that's recognized.
And I'm sure that's one of the many reasons she won the Helen L. Norris Distinguished Service Award.
Tremendous. Thank you.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
I'm Deb Lambert, Director of Collection Management, and with me today is Jody Verderame, who is our Assistant Managing Editor for the Encyclopedia of Indianapolis. And she may be setting up, but I'm going to talk about our IPS shared system expansion first, and then she's going to talk about the new redlining feature in the encyclopedia. I'm very excited about everything that we're sharing tonight, but I also don't want the interpretation of my excitement to be about issues associated with redlining. It's a very serious topic. And the encyclopedia team is making great progress in helping to shed the light on that. So first, the IPS shared system expansion. I'm speaking for many members of the NDPL staff who are involved with the shared system. Public services has connections, IT, the public programming department, shipping and receiving, accounting, cataloging, processing, and last but not least, Sarah Batt, the manager of the shared system, and Kimberly Anderson, who assists with the shared system. So you've got a handout here that I'm going to go through about regarding this news that we have. So just a reminder, the shared system is our relationship with 47, I think, schools, museums, in special libraries in Indianapolis that share our catalog, and they have a courier service where they borrow materials from us or they borrow materials from each other using our Polaris system. Thank you for approving the renewal for that. It's a very important infrastructure for us. And then our 24 locations are a huge part of this that provide materials to all those locations. So in specifically about IPS in pre-2022, we had 8
The
members.
library will be closing in 5 minutes. Any materials to be checked out must be taken to the circulation desk at this time. If you need other assistance, please come to the information desk.
We had 8 IPS members among all of our members up until 2022, when we added 3 pilot members that we wanted to explore expanding. And that pilot went well was those 3. But to go back a little further, we did a big GLIC funded feasibility study of what would we require to expand the system for the 28 remaining shared system, school libraries to join it. To make sure they understood the commitment on the IPS part, as well as the public library had a good understanding of what would be required of us. So I'm glad we had that out of the way. They definitely referred to that. And so 5 years later, they've come to us with an interest in joining the shared system. And just a reminder that all IPS students currently have library cards through our library card program. And we just recently sent out an update of all those cards for the coming school year. We have worked on coordinating programming with the schools, and they've been invited to many of our events. The McFadden lecture would have been the latest one that we're going to have to recoordinate, but we've had great success with that. And we coordinate our summer reading program with the schools as well. So I had mentioned earlier the 8 members on that slide. So now IPS has come to us and said that they've spent a lot of time studying the needs. And we met with some very high level staff members at IPS that wanted to convey how serious they're taking this and their commitment to it, including Mary Seifert, who's the director of student engagement, Warren Morgan, chief academic officer, Jessica Dunn, executive director of enrichment program. We're attending in those meetings. So we took it very seriously with the GLIC study to make sure they understood that this was a huge lift for both sides. And they came to us saying that they've looked at their students' needs and that they are not meeting their needs in terms of staffing, curriculum, access, collection funding, age of collection, or number of checkouts per pupil. And they have come up with an intentional framework for improving their libraries, and that includes joining the shared system because of the value we can bring to the schools with our collection and our professional development that we provide and many other services. So their commitment includes a financial commitment where they're allocating $30,000 of collection development allocation per school, which is very new. And they are contract shipping to help control how these materials are going to be distributed to the schools. They have a personnel commitment to increase the school coordinators' hours or schedule for the year from 9 months to 12 months. And that they are going to require library staff in every school for the library to support the primary goal of reading, promotion, and circulation. And there will be an additional contract employer to help us with the employee, to help us with the transition of onboarding these 28 schools. And they're committed to looking at shipping and workflow management, extensive weeding and refreshing of their old collections. Their old collections being, we had it somewhere here. Oh,
I
an
average 2002 and older.
2002 or older, and some of them, their average is 1990 and older. So that's definitely needed, even though we're going to, provide them with a lot of materials, they need to have an in-house collection as well. And they're committed to developing long-term processes and solutions to ensure perpetuation of this program. We were pretty insistent that we're not going to try this for a year or two and then drop out, or one school drop in and out. We need a commitment because this is a lot of people and a lot of staff to coordinate, and they are committed to that. And they're going to make sure that they do ongoing evaluation and improvement every year. There's a lot more to it in their plan, but that's the highlights for it. And this last page shows all the schools, listing them out and the years that they are going to, or quarters they're going to be onboarding with our shared system. So looking at the last column, you can see when they'll actually go live. So there are 6 schools to go live in Q3 of 2023. 6 more in Q4, 6 in Q2 of 2024.
The library is now closed. Good night.
Good night.
5 in Q3 of 2024, and the last batch in the Q4 of 2024. So this will be completed within 2 years. A big part of the lift is for them to read their current collections, barcode them to match our barcode system, and to send us all their records, and we ingest them into our catalog, dedupe them, and make sure that they're available for their students to be searched and used, and training the staff on using the system for checkouts. So it's a lot of people, a lot of schools. I'm very excited about this, and that we finally got here. We've been working on it since 2016.
I'm as excited as I am.
Excellent. Good to hear.
Madam Chairperson.
Yes.
I never thought I'd see this day coming. I've been fighting to see this. When did I come on the board? 2014, 26. It's been a fight. So on behalf of IPS, I want to say thank you very much, and we look forward to
Excellent.
this.
I love to see that smile on your face, Dr. Bain.
And we need to make a presentation to IPS that this is a partnership. And with our representation to IPS, I've worked very closely with Jessica and Mary, Jessica Dunn. I leaned over and asked Curtis, are there some aspects of facilities that we need to think about as well? Because many of the libraries have been underutilized, just as you've said. So it might be useful if they do some kind of checking to see whether or not the facilities are up to code. It needs some currency there. I'm not sure, but that might be a useful recommendation as well to check with them, but with both Mary and Jessica to see what else. But we should make a presentation to the IPS board.
Yes.
And let them
IPS
know.
board. Okay.
And
Because-
be glad to accompany you in that regard.
Okay.
Me too.
No, not you.
Oh, I'll be there.
Thank you so very much.
All right. Any
Deb,
other
I have a
questions about
question.
that?
Yes. The $30,000 collection development allocation per school, how does that work? I mean, I'm assuming you're updating their collection. Do you advise them, or how do you determine how the collection is updated?
Our shared system manager, Sarah Batt, has been working with establishing collections, and she's working with Joe Troyer, who is the shared system coordinator, to advise them on building those collections and actually working with a particular vendor. Follett's, which is another arm of Baker and Taylor, or they were partners, and the services that they provide in building collections. So we do have some advice and assistance in helping them build those collections.
And is it the same across grade level, or would it also be tailored based on the location and the school curriculum?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
That process involves, talking to the teachers and looking at core lists they require for like summer reading for their students. We work with them during the summer to prepare for summer reading as well, to look at their core summer reading list to make sure that we don't need to add extra copies from the public library because the schools are then closed. So we do have a collaborative collection development relationship with them. Great question.
Thank you.
How are you gonna ensure that last copies that go to IPS schools, like over the summer, that patrons can still access those books?
So you're talking about Indianapolis Public Library last copies.
Yeah.
Okay. Our shared system manager, Sarah Batt, and her assistant Kimberly Anderson spent a lot of time talking to the schools to talk to their students, to ask them to return them by the end of the school year. So that's a regular process they go through every year. And unfortunately, there are going to be times when a student has lost it or can't return it. And we, when we run into that situation, we can purchase additional copies unless it's an old out of date title. But we do have a process for managing that. Last copies and the shared system, only having copies of it in our system is also something that we try to address as well. When all of our copies at the public library have gone missing or are no longer available.
So does that mean that IPS students can get an NDPL library card from their school library? Or how does that work?
So that's our membership access department that manages that. We proactively get lists of enrollments from the schools, and we create library cards and we send them to the schools and to the specific teachers who hands them out to all their students. We do this annually. So we kind of push them out rather than waiting for them to come.
Any further questions?
Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is the encyclopedia and of Indianapolis and the award that the encyclopedia received from ILF, the Indiana Library Federation, for the collaboration award. So this was an award we received in competition with other libraries throughout the state of Indiana. And so we're very proud that this collaboration between Polis at IUPUI and many other organizations throughout Indianapolis, like the Indiana Historical Society, the State Library, IUPUI, anybody that has a digital collection are members of the advisory team for the Encyclopedia of Indianapolis. And so we were the recipients of this award for the 2022 award year. This is the work of a lot of we contract with Polis to help us build it, but also this team that we have, including Jody and her manager, Elizabeth Van Allen, and Jess Fisher, who's another team member, that do the work to create the content of the encyclopedia. And now I'm going to hand it off to Jody so she can talk about a very exciting development.
Hi, I'm Jody Verderame, the Assistant Manager of the Encyclopedia of Indianapolis. Thanks for giving me some of your time so that I can walk you through our newest feature on residential segregation in Indianapolis. The board members should have a packet which will help you follow the PowerPoint presentation that will be broadcast behind me.
Jody, just for a moment.
Yes.
I don't know if folks know that the broadcast of this is right behind you on the board.
Working on it.
Right. It's the residential segregation and the redlining information that's in it is powerful. I keep looking up there because it's so much powerful information. Jody, can you just give folks a few seconds?
Yes, please.
just to-
And you might want
to
to turn
turn
your
and check
chairs
it out?
around so that you can see the presentation.
Internet connected issue.
The front page of it came up and then it went bye-bye. Rather than hold you up, I'm
Right.
sorry, but I just thought everybody would probably
a
want to
good
see it.
idea.
It's a very powerful
Thank you.
piece that's in here. And the history of redlining that's happened here in Indianapolis. And cities.
I'll give them a minute to see if they can get.
It was. Have you looked at this? It's some scary stuff. I mean, it goes way back. Let's see how far back it's on. Have you seen this before? Not just the encyclopedias working as the board. Polis Center has been working. May not be the board, so they're getting different reports to WFYI. Okay.
Oh.
So let's get on our gravy.
Did you give her the PowerPoint on a?
So are there copies enough to give?
Would it be possible to bring this to another meeting?
Let's, well,
To another meeting?
It says it's alive, but I'm not 100% sure we are, so I will double check that.
okay, well, you're here. And I think we should take advantage of that. And if we can schedule you to come back to do it another time, I think that would be great. But we also want to honor your presence here and coming to share that with us. So I think we should move forward.
I can give the presentation at least for the board members, and then I'm happy to come back again. We are unable to get it on the PowerPoint.
Just a red lighting and.
Just wait 1 minute. We're putting it on a USB drive. So good to go.
Good try. Can't guarantee I'll do it any faster. Like, can I take your mouse? Oh,
People don't know the history.
But then I'm not gonna be able to use this.
we'll plug it back in. I'm just gonna do it on there.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, it won't do
That
anything.
won't work.
Oh, never mind. Do you have another one?
Is there one on the other side?
Indianapolis still
Uh,
mirrors the legacy.
You see that? Yeah. I got it.
It's the code things that we measured. And this is.
Is this on your desktop, maybe? Here, let me do it now. Oh, it's because the internet's not working, so we can't save it to.
Here, Kelly, I can do that off this computer.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Save the desktop on this computer.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
He's gonna be able to do it.
So that you know, they should think-
They can't turn the internet back on, Greg.
I did, I just did.
Check this out. Native, labor, foreign born Italian, Negro, yes, infiltration, business.
Mine is, yeah. I can scroll through.
On Mass Avenue, the Federal Housing Administration.
You need some of those hot spots. Don't they have hot spots here? So I'll check that.
Yeah, I don't know. For the next meeting.
Right.
Okay, looks like it's coming.
Oh, they're going. Here we go.
Hey. Technology. The implications are so significant because they have implications for today.
They do, right, and I have that in the
It's
presentation,
still
so.
going on today.
Okay, so to access this, you'll have to go to our website, which is at www.indieencyclopedia.org, which will take you to the next slide. And you can see our homepage from here. In the upper right-hand corner, we have a hamburger icon. If you click that, it will take you to the next slide, which this page allows you to browse and explore all aspects of the Encyclopedia of Indianapolis. But for tonight, I'm just going to focus on the column that says Explore, and you can see something that says Features. So online, you would click that, it's a hot link, and it takes you to the next slide, which says residential segregation in Indianapolis. You'll see the name of Jordan Ryan here. We collaborated with Jordan to use all of her research about residential segregation in Indianapolis. And we also worked with the Polis Center at IUPUI. They provided all of the interactivity with the maps that Jordan provided within her text. So to get to the actual feature, you would just click that radio button that says Explore, and that will take you to the next slide, which is identical to the one that we were just at. Also, I want you to take note, there's another radio button here that says PDF. I believe it says Download PDF. So you can download all of our content on the Encyclopedia of Indianapolis. But I want you to keep in mind, when you download features that have interactive components, you're just going to be able to download the static portions, which would be the text and then maps. Obviously, the interactivity of those maps won't be available. So at the bottom of this page, this is easy to navigate. You'll see an arrow that says scroll. You would click that and get to the next slide. Here at the top, there is a horizontal toolbar, which identifies the chapters of this feature. And I'm going to just touch upon each chapter very briefly, because I invite all of you to explore this at home at your leisure. But in this introduction, you will learn the historical context of what was happening in the United States, which led to redlining practices. You can read about the New Deal program that President Roosevelt launched. One of the agencies was the FHA, and also another agency was the HOLC. These two agencies worked to develop a manual, which you can see on the next slide. It's the underwriter's manual. And there is a hot link within the feature that you can click, and it will take you to the almost 500-page manual if you so desire to read what was written here. But essentially, the FHA and the HOLC developed guidelines that surveyors would use when they would go into the field to assess homes. And some of the characteristics that they landed on to decide whether a home was worthy of getting refinanced were characteristics such as whether there was water nearby or sewers, or if the roads were paved, the age of the home, and most importantly, the racial makeup of the neighborhood that the home sat in. So we can go to the next slide. And here you can see information about an area description form. So when the surveyors would go into the neighborhoods, and in Indianapolis, there were 73 districts that were assessed by the surveyors. The surveyors would use these area description forms and go through and kind of just check off the characteristics that they decided they would use to determine the integrity of the home. And basically they would grade the homes on A, B, C, D grading system. A being best, B being still desirable, C definitely declining. And then those areas that had a D rating were the hazardous neighborhoods, and those were the ones that were redlined. So we can go to the next slide, please. And here, what I'm presenting is one of those area description forms on the right-hand side of the slide. And on the left-hand side of the slide is the geography that relates to this particular area description form. And you'll notice that this is Massachusetts Avenue. The commercial corridors weren't assessed in the same way that residential areas were. But I want you to take special note that the two neighborhoods on either side of Mass Ave have been redlined. And if you ever walk around downtown today, you know that those neighborhoods are viable, but these are the neighborhoods of Lockerbie Square, St. Joseph, and Chatham Arch. But in the 1930s, these areas were definitely redlined. And we have, I think there are 2 or 3 other area assessment forms, or description forms rather, on our site. I just selected one to show you tonight. On the next slide, please, what you can see is a larger map of the city. And I want you to take note, the central core of Indianapolis is totally redlined. And then even the periphery is highlighted in yellow, and those areas are definitely declining. Those received the rating of C. And on the right-hand side of the map, I kind of detailed a few of the characteristics that these areas were rated on, and then thus received the particular grade that they received. Next slide, please. Now, what I have here are images of 2 neighborhoods, and they have been assessed by the FHA surveyors. And I want you to notice they really look very similar, at least to me they do. They both have paved streets, mature trees. The homes look like they're in great shape. You can see there's electricity because of the electrical lines. I see a fire hydrant in the image on the right-hand side, so clearly there's water. Yet the neighborhood on the left-hand side has an A rating, and the neighborhood on the left-hand side has an A rating, and the one on the right-hand side has a D rating. It has been redlined, and there's virtually no difference. So I think these photographs demonstrate a definite bias in the way that the surveyors rated the homes, and the bias stems from the racial makeup of the neighborhoods at times. Next slide, please. Now this slide is a complete map of Indianapolis. And what I'm going to discuss with you now are some of the modern implications of the historic redlining practices in Indianapolis. This particular map was developed by the Chamber of Commerce 1 year after World War II finished. And it is a distribution of African Americans in this city. And you can see that this distribution tracks with those areas that were redlined by the FHA and the HOLC when they assessed the geography of this city. And more than 80 years later, we see that these neighborhoods are still made up of African Americans, and they are the ones who are suffering because of that historic designation. The city of Indianapolis made major land use decisions based on the racial distribution of this city. We had slum clearance projects, the development of I-65 and I-70, the expansion of the IUPUI campus, and the development of White River State Park, all just taking place in neighborhoods that were redlined, and it destroyed African-American neighborhoods and displaced them. Next slide, please. Here, I'm gonna have to grab my glasses. The print is too small, pardon me. On this visualization, the Polis Center helped us with this. And what you can see is that the neighborhoods that were redlined, that received the D rating, these are the neighborhoods that even today suffer most when we consider like mortgage denial rates. People who are trying to buy homes in these areas continue to be denied loans when they seek them. Next slide, please. In this visualization, you can see that the median household income of the residents living in redlined areas to this day continues to be lower than individuals who live in areas that were rated A, B, or C. And in the next visualization on the next slide, please, you can see that individuals who live in neighborhoods that were historically redlined today report higher incidences of poor health. A lot of that could be due to just proximity to industrial areas. It could be because of living in food deserts, disinvestment by businesses in those neighborhoods. So many things contribute to poor health, but it is heightened in those areas that were previously redlined. In the next slide, what you can see is a larger map of Indianapolis. This map is interactive. So when you're online at home, you can click on any area here to get a more granular look at some of the data that the Polis Center provides. So for today, what I did was choose the Martindale Brightwood area, which you can see on the next slide. On the top map, you can see that Martindale Brightwood was redlined in 1937. And the bottom map is simply a Google map that I pulled offline just to show where we are. You can see where the Indianapolis Marion County Public Library is. That's where we are right now in Martindale Brightwood. And the area was redlined in 1937. And I don't live in Martindale Brightwood, but I think the area is still probably the home values are depressed when you consider other areas in the city that weren't redlined. They probably, this neighborhood lacks probably the services that other neighborhoods in the city have that weren't redlined. Another visualization you can get when you click, when you're at home, you can like click inside the area to get more information specific to Brightwood. And on the next slide, what I have here is the area description form that the FHA surveyors filled out for this neighborhood. On the left-hand side is the complete form. And on the right-hand side, I just zoomed in on the top part of it because I wanted to show you. So this neighborhood in 37 did have, according to the surveyors, native whites living here with a nominal number of foreign-born people. But you can see on the last line, it says infiltration of Negroes. So simply because African Americans were coming into this area, the area was redlined. And thus has suffered consequently over the years. After you, the next slide, please. Another statistic that you can hone into when you click on the red area that I showed you 2 slides prior is information about the median household income. So this is from 2020. In Martindale Brightwood, the median household income is less than $25,000 a year, which again, I showed you in a previous visualization. This income falls far short than the income level compared to residents in neighborhoods that are rated A, B, C, or D in Indianapolis, in the metro area and throughout the state, and even in Marion County. The right-hand table shows you, or graph rather, shows you that there isn't much diversity here. The neighborhood is primarily African American. So again, this is just showing you that the historic redlining of this neighborhood continues to affect one demographic, and it is African Americans. I know I went through this very quickly. Next slide, please. But I hope that all of you take the time to go online, check out the website, and do a little bit further investigation, not only with this feature, but with all of the content that we have at the Encyclopedia of Indianapolis. And what I have also, oh, maybe it is gone. Oh, that's okay. We're on social media as well, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Our social media editor constantly updates those 3 platforms with content for everyone to learn about. So thanks a lot for listening.
Thank you. And Deb, just briefly, I know the encyclopedia was launched, of Indianapolis was launched recently, but can you talk about that as a resource for us in how it's funded?
Good question. So it's been a program that we launched as part of Indianapolis services in November 2021. And so we've had it a full year through 2022, where they've been integrated into the NDPL staff and part of the organization, you know, through IT and accounting and everything. Before that, it was developed through Polis, but they've handed it off to us. And we are in the last grant year for paying for their current development. The current year's development is focusing on an exhibit module so that we can plug in content to show exhibits on specific topics. It's a different type of feature than this. And they're also doing some cleanup in the development. So we're still partnering with Polis, where we're paying them to do the development of the technology, and our staff uses that to work with content experts in the community as editors to bring in that content. But also the advisory team is part of the organization of all the members of the encyclopedia that help to decide what is going to be published in each year. So it's a very robust relationship with many organizations that have historical archival content and expertise about Indianapolis's history. So long story short, we're reaching the end of the grant year, and we're trying to figure out, given our recent challenges with increasing our salaries for our current staff, but not having the ability to add new positions, we're trying to find a solution for the future.
And what is the annual grant?
The annual grant, I can't speak to the total of that, but I can tell you that the salaries salaries and IT support is about $250,000 annually.
And do we know how broadly this is used?
It is very robustly used, and Mike Williams is probably the best person to talk about the Google Analytics usage of that. Mike, can you add?
Just off the top of my head, we are now making about 11 million impressions each month through Google search. Those don't only about 10% of those translate into clicks, but the whole thing is indexed by Google. And then, you run a search on Madam Walker, just as an example, Madam CJ Walker. We come up in the top tier of those search results. And then when you click, it'll take you to the article, and that translates to about 14,000 clicks per month currently. And that has all been trending up. I track this month over month over month, and all the charts continue to go up. And I want to especially thank Stephen, who quite often retweets and likes our tweets. So we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Mike, that's one of the other things that we were made aware of some time ago was the grant from Lilly. And
Yes.
so as we put together the data to continue to get support for this, it will be important to track the clicks, the
Yes.
retweets, but also the high usage that shows that growth over time.
Mhm.
And this was a perfect example of why this information is so valuable. That Lilly grant is over when? It's
The end of
End of this year.
2023.
the end of 2023. So this is the time to start looking at pulling that data together in order to make another proposal.
Yep, we are working with Roberta Jaggers, who helps
Perfect.
us with all the grant funding
Perfect.
that we have. CICF and Clues are also big funders of this development of it.
So do grants cover the entire cost, or is there funding it's part of that comes from the libraries?
At this
fund?
time, for
It's
this year, it's 100% by the
100%?
grant.
Okay.
And we update the foundation with those click reports every month. So
Is
we can
Indiana
file them together.
Humanities, I'm sorry, is Indiana Humanities providing any grants?
That's a good point.
I don't think
Excellent.
that has been part of the funding so far.
They are a
Um,
partner,
Good.
but not a grantor.
We might want to consider that. That's an excellent point, Stephen.
Perfect project
Putting
for
together
them.
because they are a granting agency and they might be able to support this, particularly since now we're seeing its growth and usefulness.
Yeah.
As a social service as well.
Mhm. Partners with other organizations, the Indiana Historical Society is looking towards developing their digital presence more, and they might be partners in the future for an encyclopedia of Indiana based on this technology.
I just think it's great. I use it all the time at University Library at IUPUI. I send it out to patrons. Like, I really do think it's just an excellent resource.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. And part of the requirements of the Lilly grant is they wanted to have the scholarly aspect to it and the, content matter experts creating the content, but they want it to be appealing to the public, the general public. So that's why they consider the public library partnership important to this, so that we have a lot more access to it for our general patrons.
You know, that's an important point. Because if right now you have some representation from public, how many folks here found this information to be useful just now? You know, getting some type of feedback, folks are raising their hands, getting some kind of feedback from public, whether it's in a service, a survey, a focus group, something like that, also bolsters the opportunity for additional external funding.
Very good.
Also, have you considered partnering with IUPUI's Public History Program? I think the students there could really benefit from learning how to write these entries, editing, and they're always hungry for assignments.
Right. I've talked to Rebecca Schramm. Yeah, so Rebecca has helped a lot with entries, and she's put me in touch with several of her students in the past, since I'm the one who tries to find authors for our entries. So yeah, I mean, I actively work with different professors at the university, not just in public history, but in the history department and in other schools at IUPUI and at other universities. So UND, Butler. I reached out to professors at out of state even, who perhaps did a master's here or did their dissertation at IU or Purdue, and they're teaching at other universities, but they have worked with us to provide updates to old content, or they've provided new content. So yeah, I'm always trying to find people with expertise, with domain expertise, but at the same time, we ask community members to help write, because the community, we can't discount their expertise as well, and their knowledge in particular subject matters.
Great.
And the other thing is, this, as Trish sitting back there can tell you, because she's one of the facilitators for the Racial Equity Institute training that we do for all our library staff, fits right in with the information that we give them to help them understand systemic racism. So this is very important.
Excellent. Well, thank you for all your time. This was a pretty long period of time to keep your attention. So thank you for giving us the time to talk about it.
Great information, and thank you for the update. Something to keep in mind too, as we think about budget and Mr. Biederman, your role with the foundation, and how do we look at providing continuing funding for this asset and this resource for our community. Okay. Mr. Hill, you have more in your report?
I think Anita's on the agenda. She will give us an update.
Hello, Ms. Harden.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can everybody hear me? I tend to talk soft. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to update you on the evaluation of the previous search, the original search. And when I say we, I mean Gregory Hill and I are working together, taking the lead on doing this. We began with looking at key information that the other committee had produced, such as the result of stakeholder surveys. We've got the results of all of that, which is great results. We also looked at the timeline. We looked at the job description. We've been spending most of our time interviewing members of the search committee. And we have to date interviewed 21 members of the search committee. And we've been asking questions such as, what went well with the process? What didn't go well with the process? And what are your recommendations for future? We still have 3 more to interview, and we hope to get that done no later than next week. Our last one is March 7th. And then we'll get together and analyze those results. And we will look at making some recommendations and present that information to your committee, the diversity DPHR committee. I'm still getting used to all the acronyms, but the DPHR committee present those results and recommendations to that committee. So that's our goal, to get that done by March the 14th. And then we'll take it from there. Any questions?
Now, except this isn't a question, but I recommended that you also interview Nichelle Hayes. Since, well, I don't have to say why, but I'm glad that you will be doing that since we fully expect that she'll be our next CEO.
That interview is scheduled for Wednesday, so it'll be this week.
Very good.
And just one other clarification, you did 21 interviews, but that's the search committee
Right.
plus, right?
Plus,
Because
right,
the search
the,
committee was not that large, right?
I
Search
think there were
committee was
about
like
22 members on the search committee.
14 or 15 on the search committee. So
It was larger than that, according to the information from the website. It may not have been 22 or 21, but it was large because I added those up.
So there were additional board members, there was staff, but the number was, Tisha, was it 14 or 15? Yeah.
Some of those numbers include executive committee members and
Right.
some people from the arms group.
So other stakeholders, but
Right.
not the actual committee proper that will be interviewing and vetted the candidates and that kind of thing. Just wanted to clarify, but we heard from the broader stakeholder group, yeah, in that number.
Thank you.
Are there any preliminary findings that you're seeing or any patterns that you can share with us tonight?
Can't share them. I'd really rather have the complete group and then do an analysis, and we'll share it then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that conclude your report?
Yes,
Mr. Akincio? Okay, so we'll move on. There is no unfinished or new business. Item 13 is future agenda items. I believe there are a couple of items that Carla Murtada requested at our last meeting, listed for social services and the climate improvement plan. That may be one that you added. Greg?
Yes, that's one that I added.
Okay, so this is a time is made available for discussion items that are not on the agenda, which are of interest to library board members, and opportunity is given to suggest items to be included on future library board meeting agendas. Do any board members have topics to suggest for the 2023 board March meeting?
Yes, I do. In January 23rd meeting, I asked that we include a discussion about the public strategic plan. And I brought that to this group and mentioned that Dr. Terry Jett and I had worked with that strategic plan and asked us once again to begin that process because it began during this time of the year. And I had said that right now, many libraries are looking at the escalating intensity and attacking on books, the circulation, the staff is really having to do so very much. And so we need to look at internal goals as well as external goals as we think about the strategic plan. Afterwards, I also went to Greg Hill and asked if I could be on the agenda for the discussion about the strategic plan, not for this board agenda. I made the point for the board agenda, if we could have a discussion about it. The second item that I asked for, and I think you mentioned it just now, Hope, looking at the library social worker. She's working as a singular individual along with the executive team. And from what I understand, the many issues that she's been addressing include homelessness and paying attention to the use of the library in so many different ways that meet the social needs in the different communities. And so I would ask that we place a presentation from our social worker here on the agenda, as well as a discussion about the strategic planning process.
Thank you, Dr. Murtada. And all of those things have been noted. And if you'll recall at the meeting last time, you did give us quite a list. And my question to you was, you want all of that next month? And we agreed that we would spread them out over the coming month. And Greg has been working to do that. And so I think he's selected these two for March, and we'll continue to move forward on your list so that we hear from you, hear about those topics over the coming months, but we have not forgotten them. Also, we did get an email from the acting CEO with regard to the staff's recommendation about the strategic plan. And Greg, would you, or Mr. Hill, would you mind talking about that here, just so that we clarify what the plan is for the strategic plan?
Okay, yeah, no problem. Thank you. So what the plan is that we've talked about with EC and Anita and myself, we talked about, also talked about it with Berta from the foundation, because she kind of piggybacks off of our strategic plan, is that we were going to do an extension of 12 months. That will allow us some time to pull out the data, because we don't have our strategic and planning officer, he left. So we can pull out some data, find out where we are, and then pull out some data also to find out what some of the items that we were able to finish, and then the ones that we still need to work on, and then include those in our extension and until next year.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg. Is there anything else in terms of future agenda items? Those are the two that we're looking at for March. So we'll move on. Please ask members to take note of item 15, which is the meeting schedule for the remainder of the year. And again, very happy to be having a road show with our board meetings. And so we'll be visiting various branches through the end of the year. Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, March 27th at the Southport Branch Library, which is 2630 East Stop 11 Road. It starts at 6:30. Is there any other business to be discussed? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.
Motion.